Hello, hello. I am Sinner, and I am back with another book review. This time it's this absolute monster of a book, The Institutes of the Christian Religion by John Calvin. This book took me like at least 4 months to get through, I think, and I had to take some breaks and read other stuff in the meantime. It was an absolute monster of a book. I think theologically, it makes me more certain of my religious beliefs. Um, I think generally speaking, like it offers a lot of good arguments for Reformed Christian doctrine. That being said, I would say it's kind of outdated, like mainly because the main people he's arguing against don't really exist anymore. So the main two people he's arguing against are the Anabaptists, which don't exist anymore. Like Baptists exist, but Anabaptists don't. And a lot of the arguments can be transferred, but still. And Catholics. But one of the things you kind of quickly realize is the Catholicism of the Middle Ages, which he's arguing against, is not the same thing as the Catholicism of today. The Catholicism back then, they withheld the cup. So with the Eucharist, it was just the bread. The Catholicism back then, they only administered the Eucharist once a year. Um, Back then, it was considered a sin not to observe all the festivals and holy days that the Catholic Church determined, which isn't the case anymore. Back then, the most popular form of Mass was the TLM, right? And that includes sacrificing Christ on the altar, well, just the little Eucharist on the altar like this. And no one does that anymore. It's now the Novus Ordo. That's the main form of Mass in the Catholic Church. And yeah, there's other things like, he makes this whole argument in the book why marrying like priests being chaste isn't the apostolic historic position, right? But nowadays, even Catholics will admit that. Even Catholics will say, no, it's an innovation that happened at this year, you know, so blah, blah, blah. Same thing with like using unleavened bread instead of leavened bread. Um, like Catholics today will admit that's an innovation, but they'll just say it's a good one, it's development, and these sorts of things. So, yeah, in that sense, it is kind of outdated because, like, yeah, it's arguing against a form of Catholicism that no longer exists. Um, that being said, I think it's still a good book, and I think it's, I don't know if it's worth reading. I think that maybe you'd be fine if you just read like the Westminster Larger Catechism. Um, but it does offer some interesting arguments for things that I didn't really understand before I read it, like the issue of invincible ignorance and the bounds of invincible ignorance. And I think today, especially now, the the boundary of invincible ignorance has grown so large that basically, so long as you think you're doing the right thing, or you believe yourself to be doing the right thing, something like this, you follow your conscience, uh, it's like, okay, yeah, you're definitely going to heaven. So you can be like a Muslim. This is a very Catholic position as well, but like you can be like a Muslim and um, who just, only acts according to what he believes to be true and is honest. And then, yep, you're going to heaven, buddy. Doesn't matter that you denied Christ or this or that. So yeah, I think in that sense, it's very uh, I think it's very worthwhile to read. Um, what else is there to say? Hmm. It definitely feels like a logical conclusion of, I would say, like medieval philosophy, this sort of position, especially when it comes to things like natural theology, which he sort of uses to make arguments against, like, the idea that, the whole like pagans go to hell thing. It's like, well, if you look at natural theology, anyone with sufficient reason could see that there's only one God. So, and like the pagan Greeks, their philosophers did it just fine, like Plato and Aristotle. So, you know, if you're like some guy in the Amazonian jungle and you're like killing babies and putting them on an altar, do you really not know better? Do you really not know better? I think no, probably. But yeah, overall, good book. I don't really have so much to say on it because the problem is like due to the size of the book, reviewing it's kind of hard. Just because like there's so much stuff that like what you if you say everything you think about everything in the book, it'll go on forever. But if you know, so it's like there's not much cursory things you can say because of just how big the book is. Actually, on that, systematic theologies I think are extremely useful. I think everyone who's a Christian, even if you're not a Reformed Christian or whatever, you should read a systematic theology book or have a systematic knowledge of your denomination. You shouldn't be like having a mere cursory understanding of your belief system. It should be pretty thorough, and these sorts of books offer that. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I am Sinner. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Please like and subscribe. Bye bye.